Hi everyone, welcome to my cyberspace. In this video, we've been continuing our series on Power BI data analysis on how to analyze the stroke prediction data sets that we got from Kaggle. And in the previous video, I spoke about how to get data from Kaggle. I spoke about coming up with question and how to know the most important variable. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how do you then start your analysis. If you've not watched the previous videos, do well to pause this video and go and watch the previous video. Now let's get right into it. So one of the things we already have the data set already, just downloaded, and just to give you a quick glance again, we have ID, gender, age, hypertension, and I have my data saved here. So head over to Power BI, and in case you don't have Power BI installed, do well to go install Power BI. So head over to Power BI and let's open it up first of all. So a few things you want to understand is that in case you'll be working on any other projects, this data is a Microsoft comma separated file. It's a CSV file, not an Excel file in itself. And how do I can know just by clicking on this? I see that this is a CSV file, even though you wrote Microsoft Excel in the front. But if I open this up and I just click on file, I click on save as, I see it's already in a CSV file. So this is very important for you to know your data format, because it will determine the kind of style you will use to load it in Power BI. So I'm just going to close it up, and see it says blank report, whichever Excel workbook. This is if I want to load in an Excel file. That's not an Excel file, that is a CSV file, and this is SQL Server if you want to load in from SQL Server. But let me just go do get from other sources. So click on get from other sources, and I'm just going to select text as CSV file. Click on connect. Then the next thing you do is you select your data set, then Voila opens. So what we will see from here when it opens up is going to ask us if we want to load, transform our data. Most of the time I'll just ask you to load directly, because you can always transform your data later on, and where we transform our data is mostly in the Power Query editor. And you can just load directly, but just and you might have a question, what's the difference between transform and load data? A simple differentiation is that transform is in case you want to make some changes to the data before trying to check everything. But let me load first of all, and then I'll go back to transform. So I load this, and it's going to take a minute, and we would see our data ready. It depends on how much of data you have. Another thing also is you can also load in additional data. So don't just think it's just one data you can load in one time in Power BI. But first few things we want to do is let's go back again to transform our data so we can see our data in detail. So click on transform data. So when we click on transform data, it opens up the Power Query editor. You would notice that right now Power BI has two things opened up. So Power Query editor is different from this view. So that's something that you need to know. And whenever changes we apply, whenever changes we make, we need to apply the changes. So first few things you want to do just when you look at your data set, mostly this might not be an issue. This you will only have issues sometimes when you are loading in maybe a data that has a date format. You want to know what should be your date format. So for ID, we don't care about the ID, so we can leave it as the data type is 1 to 3. I could change this as to text or whatever it is. There is also gender, which is male and female, is text. That's what we want. There is age, which is a decimal number, which is fine. You could just change it to a whole number, which is also going to be the same. You leave it as that. This is hypertension, 1 and 0. Add this, ever married, which is a text. Everything looks about right, and except something that we are going to come back to do later, and it shows us that stroke is 1 and 0. In the previous video I spoke about that stroke can be a categorical data. So, and this right now is showing stroke as a numerical data. So you have to intuitively think about your data in itself. So most time when you have things that are 1 and 0, and maybe an event occurred or it did not, it's a categorical data in itself. So what I would do is I want to create a version of this stroke that would show that when it is 1, it will be yes, that means they have a stroke, or I can call it as stroke, and I can call 0 as no stroke. Remember when we came here, this is saying that 1 means if the patient had a stroke, and 0 if they didn't have a stroke. And we'll see how this is going to be useful for us in the future. So what I will just do is I will click on this, then I click on the stroke table, and I'm just going to right click and I'll click on duplicate column. So it's just very simple, duplicate column. And first few thing I want to do is I can just say maybe stroke 2, or I can call it stroke cat. So maybe that's stroke categorical. That's one. I want to change this to a text format, because technically, even though it's 1 and 0, it should be a text format. And the reason why I need to change it to a text format is because, let me take it back to a number format that it was originally. And you can go few steps backward. Instead of changing it back, I can just click on cancel this. You see it does this. So this is in case you want to go few steps backwards or whatever. So Power BI has like this track changes that it does for you. So if I want to make one has stroke, 0 no stroke, and I right click on this and I do say replace value, and I say replace value. So when this is 1, make it as stroke, right? Stroke. So right now it's not allowing me click OK, saying because what's the error sign? Enter a number value. It can only go from number to number, not number to text. So what I need to do is to first of all change this format right here. So you just click on the number and change this to a text format. Now it's a text format. Then if I do that again, we'll see that would work. So what I'm trying to do is did not change type, which I've done already. So it says replace value. So what I want to do, so when it is 1, I will replace it to has stroke. And you can do this like in Excel before you bring it right into Power BI. In case you know how to use SQL, you can do this in SQL. So I'm going to do just for one after the other. It says advanced option is don't need that, so just click on that. So we see by then I need to do for 0. So same 0, right click. So it's called replace value. For 0 means no stroke. So there might be use cases whereby it is best to use this numerical aspect of the stroke. There might be use cases where you need to use this stroke as a categorical. We could just double confirm that we do have a stroke and no stroke. List may be incomplete, but we know it's actually complete. So that's all. Has stroke. This is also 1 and 0, leaving this as it is. So that's why I said that every time you need to create a copy of your data set. So there's really nothing much change we want to make right now. And so one of the things also happening here, which is very important, is saying this BMI as a categorical data. But we know that initially we are seeing BMI as a numerical data, right? So because we came up with this question earlier that kind of talked about we have one numerical and one categorical data. And the reason why it's saying it as a categorical data is because we actually do have NA value here. And that's why it's saying all of this as a categorical data. So this might not allow us to change this to a categorical to a numerical data, but let's try. So we want to change it to decimal because we do have points here. So let's change it to decimal. So so it does allow, and it's taking those NAs as an error. So let's see what happens if we try to close this up. So you should take this as, and one of the things I could do is maybe change this to, if let's say we want to replace value, say most likely it's not going to show up an error. So let's just leave that and try to close that. So close. So there are a few options. There's close and apply. There's apply. There's close. So what we want to do for the most part is close and apply. So just to go back again, the reason why I changed this is we know that we want our BMI to be somewhat numerical. And when we say numerical, we're also talking about decimal. So let's close and apply. And it's going to, one of the load query contained error, view error. And that was because of this. Yeah, so we will need to, it changes everything. So we just we undo that. Let me take it back to a text format that it was. So that's one of the issues. There's a way to fix this, but let's just leave this for now, and let's just take this away and let's close and apply. So we've closed and applied, and so we've done our transformation to our data. and that's what we want to do. So we see that we do have and one thing we can do is just come here, open up our data. We see that we have ID, gender, age, all of those, and we have our smoking category. So in the next video, we are going to be talking about how to then run the visual for each of these analysis. So hopefully this video was a value for time. If you was, go to subscribe, like, follow, and share. Thank you. Ciao.